Good morning. My name is Lisa Daisel. I'm from the UNISA Directorate for Counselling and Career Development. Today we thought it would be appropriate for us to talk about mental health. With me, I've got my colleague, Dr. Chipiwa Kurisang. Good morning, Chipiwa.
Good morning, Lisa, and good morning to the students. This morning we will be talking about mental health, our mental health. Of course, when you are studying, the most important thing seems to be your studies. But sometimes we underestimate the impact of your mental health on your studies and also your career. So therefore, it's important that we acknowledge our mental health and also to have a conversation about where we are and what are some of the things we need to do to manage your mental health or our mental health. What are we talking about when we are talking about mental health? You must remember mental health is the thinking and feeling about your life that affects how we behave. So part of the mental health has got thinking, there is a feeling part, and the two then affects how you behave. We must understand that our mental health is mostly neglected due to the culture and history of mental illness. In most societies, when you have got a mental illness, you are seen as an outcast. Also, we've got perception people who struggle with mental health are the weak one. We normally try to be strong and camouflage our struggle with the mental health. We also need to understand the role of psychology and mental health and psychiatry in our society, even from the apartheid times where people who were against the regime were seen as an outcast. Even nowadays, when somebody talks to you and you disagree, it's easy to label that other person as schizo or psychopath. That also talks about societal expectations, perceptions, and assumptions. We have got particular expectations that all of us must be mentally well. And if you are not mentally well, it means you are weak. Even in some faith is that if you are mentally struggling, it means you are not strong enough in your sense of belief system. It's very interesting that we are doing this recording almost in the middle of winter, where most of us we would be sharing, you must get a flu vaccine, you must drink this, you must give your child a crash guards. We will share a whole lot of either tea, vitamins to take care about our physical health. We will have conversations. We will even reach out to other people to say, I had flu. I was struggling last week. I took this. Please go and buy this. But we can't do the same thing with the mental health. We even struggle to disclose to people close to us to say, I'm struggling. And it might not be because you are weak, but it's because of what you are experiencing now towards your studies that you are feeling, I'm struggling with that. Remember, when we talk about mental health, we are talking about your thinking and feeling that also affect your behavior. So we are talking about what type of thinking, what type of feelings, and how does this impact you mentally, psychologically, and emotionally. We must understand that mental health does not discriminate. Anyone can experience mental health challenges. We cannot say mental health is for people who are not studying because they've got issues. We cannot say mental health is for people who are not working or for the poor. Each one of us is vulnerable or predisposed to mental health. As I've been saying, it does not mean anything about you as a person. It does not mean because you are weak or you are strong or you are religious or you are a failure. You are just a human being who must think and feel. You must also understand when we are talking about your mental health, you are just also responding to a situation. It could be a situation around your studies. It could be a situation around your relationship. It could be a situation around loss. All that impact on your mental health. And sometimes we even say your response is a normal response to a situation that is abnormal, even though it leads to where we say you are struggling with your mental health. It's like now in winter, because of the cold, we would start sneezing. It doesn't mean anything. You are just responding to the outside situation of the cold weather. You might wonder, why do we battle with mental health challenges? One of the reasons is because we are isolated. We are isolated because we are scared to be judged. As I said earlier on, that normally when we struggle with mental health, we don't even share with people who are close to us, because what will they think? How will they view me? We are also helpless, overwhelmed by the experiences, because also this is not something that is sort of embraced and accepted as part of human beings. When you hear that you are struggling, or even when you start realizing you are struggling with your mental health, you become quite overwhelmed and you feel very helpless. There is also lack of sensitivity to emotional experiences. Most people, when we are overwhelmed, we normally respond in a logical way, practical way, where we want to fix things. Even when somebody says, I've got mental health issues, I'm struggling with this, we normally do not acknowledge where they are as emotional beings or mentally beings. We tend to want to fix, and that isolate the person, because when we are struggling with the mental health, it's about our emotions, it's about our thinking that needs to be acknowledged even before the person is being told what to do and what not to do. We also ignore the impact of things that is also related to what I was talking about earlier. If you are studying and you say to somebody, I have failed my assignment, people will say, don't worry, you will write the second one. But we are not acknowledging, how does this impact on you, the disappointment, the fear, and the worry. I also think in our health, you are maybe just been diagnosed with an illness, a traumatic illness, a chronic illness. If you say to somebody, I've just been diagnosed with cancer, with HIV, people will not even attend to that because of fear of death or fear of being stigmatized. Even in our lives, one reason that we do struggle with mental health is that we tend to dismiss, we tend to ignore how we have been impacted, and to take some time to acknowledge that. We also struggle to accept and deal with our pain. As human beings, we are more comfortable with love, good feelings of being excited and celebrate, but we struggle with difficult, uncomfortable emotions, which provoke pain and discomfort. That means we even struggle to access each other's pains. We can't pick up that the other person is struggling, is uncomfortable, because mostly as human beings, we are disconnected from each other, and it becomes difficult to connect on that level. We have chosen to speak about one specific condition, which is depression. Of course, there are a number of mental health conditions, but we chose depression. Why we chose depression? This is most common. Most of us struggle with this, sometimes not even being aware, especially in our academic and career journey. In the health, they normally talk about clinical depression, which is a serious and pervasive mood disorder. It normally causes feelings of sadness, hopelessness, helplessness, and worthlessness. You don't feel good about yourself, you don't even have hope, and nothing matters. Depression can be mild to moderate with symptoms of apathy, little appetite, difficulty sleeping, low self-esteem, and low-grade fatigue. Or it could even be more severe. As we continue with symptoms of depression, you will realize that you are starting to sleep too much, or you struggle to sleep, or you wake up early in the morning where you can't sleep anymore around 2 a.m., 12 a.m., and you can't fall asleep again. Sometimes you are struggling with feelings of guilt, even over small things. It could be, oh, why didn't I study? And you will ruminate over that, feeling very guilty, even thinking, did I answer that person properly? And you struggle with a sense of guilt. There is also a sense of worthlessness, as I said earlier, helplessness, hopelessness, and pessimism. You even doubt yourself and everything you do, and that you will never get anywhere. There is also restlessness, irritability, or excessive crying. You can't sit still, you can't relax, you are constantly worried. Furthermore, there could be persistent sadness. You feel very anxious. You also have these feelings of feeling empty. We call it empty mood. There is just nothing. You don't connect to yourself and to life. There is also loss of interest or pleasure in activities that you would use to enjoy. If you are a student, you will lose interest in studying. You would not want to study, to work. It can go further to where you are not even interested in bathing yourself or cleaning. You are not interested in living even at all. It could also include loss of interest in intimacy, including sex. There could be decreased energy, fatigue. You feel slowed down. Sometimes some people will report it takes longer now to do things that I used to do quite quickly. There could also be thoughts of death or suicide, or you could also have suicide attempts. This is also very important for students because you could find that you find it difficult to concentrate, even to remember or making decisions. Sometimes when you are studying or when you are writing, some students will report, I normally have a blackout. Or even when you remember, you study, you can't remember what you have studied. There could be persistent physical symptoms that do not respond to treatment, such as you constantly struggle with the headaches, you can get medication, but it will not subside. You could also have digestive systems disorders, such as running tummy, constipation, even some students complain with being nauseous. Other people will have chronic pain, back pain, even some pains are not explainable. It also happens that you could become quite aggressive and you are short-tempered. Sometimes you even get so irritated with other people that you can't stand other people, or you don't even want to be with others, and then you isolate. Let's talk about developing coping skills. Of course, there is a lot of things that you will find that are used as coping skills. I think the first thing you need to think about your worth as a person. In thinking about your worth as a person, you also need to think about what is it based on? Because especially when you are a student, if your worth as a person, it's only based on achieving high marks. When you don't achieve those marks, then it also makes you vulnerable and you become depressed. So there could be a number of elements that need to be looked at when you are looking at your worth as a person. The second part is acknowledge that you are an emotional being. You then had to validate all your emotions and your vulnerability in a healthy way. So it's important that when you feel worried, you take some time to acknowledge that it's part of being emotionally healthy and coping or managing that you take care of your mental health. You also need to be in touch with your thoughts and feelings. You cannot only express love and aggression. Why did I put only those two feelings? Is that most of the time we are comfortable with expressing love. While we then lose ourselves and we are not taking care of ourselves, then we become aggressive. Because aggression, you are fighting because things are not going your way. You are fighting the environment to get what you want. You also need to feel that you are worthy, you are able, and you are deserving. Part of the struggles in life does not necessarily mean that you as a person, you are not worthy of living. You are just going through the struggles. You also need to liberate yourself and allow yourself to experience the moment. Sometimes we get so depressed because when we are in that moment, it overwhelms us and we want to run away. Sometimes just acknowledging your vulnerability and the discomfort of that moment can be quite important for our mental health and also experiencing us differently. It's okay to be vulnerable. You need to have honest conversation with yourself and also with others about your challenges. Because when you do that, you acknowledge your humanness, and also it's the only medication to manage your mental health so that you do not deteriorate. You need to think about yourself and think on your mental health, whether you are trimming or pruning the tree. I would help you quickly about the two concepts. Where you are, if you go around the street or if you go to the garden, you will see that the people who maintains the garden have trimmed the trees so beautiful. Some people are so talented that they can trim a tree and it could look like a heart. They decorate and they trim it in a way that you will be so attracted to the tree. But if you look at that tree again, you will realize the tree has lost its original way of being a tree, its authenticity. And that does not help a tree. That tree, if it's supposed to produce fruits the way it has been trimmed, it won't be capable. So all the trees that have been trimmed, it looks so good for the eyes, but it doesn't look for the tree good for the tree itself. The tree can't show the potential it needs to show. But then we have got the concept of pruning. People who are farmers, they prune the leaves or the branches of the tree after each and every harvest. Why they do that? During any harvest, they look at the tree and look at where are the fruits. Then they would see that there is another side that the tree could not get enough sun. Therefore, those branches could not produce. So after the harvest, they would make sure that they remove those trees that blocks the other side of the tree to give its full potential. Other sophisticated farmers, you will hear that they even prune the roots. So every harvest, they test each and every fruit to check whether it has all the minerals that this particular fruit must have. If they realize that no, there is something missing, then they will go and dig all the roots so that they can divert the roots where they need to get particular minerals. I hope you now understand pruning is done for the purpose of the tree to have better fruits, to give out its full potential. That is, for me, is very important when considering our mental health. Are you doing things that makes you trimmed as a human being? But in trimming yourself to look good for others, are you also losing yourself and also not taking care of your mental health? Can you start prune yourself and do things that is very important for your mental health? I don't know which branches must you cut. I don't know which roots must you redirect, but think about where you are now and the things you are doing for your mental health. How do they help you and your potential? Or how are you destructive towards your mental health? Thank you very much. We hope you will take some time to just reflect on your mental health, what you are experiencing, what you are doing, and also if you need further support, you can contact us.
Thank you, Dr. Korisang. I was wondering, as I was listening to your presentation, you spoke about that often People are quite hesitant to ask for help. I was wondering if you could maybe just comment a bit more on, as we are thinking about having these conversations with other people, whether it be with professionals or people close to us or somebody that we trust to talk to, what would be examples or the things that would be helpful to talk about in those conversations?
I think what you have raised is a very important question. Sometimes I think when you start having those conversations, maybe also take care of yourself that you manage your vulnerability. So let's say it's around your studies and where you are emotionally. Sometimes when we start talking to people, we are so overwhelmed, then people even get shocked, and even ourselves, we then start feeling guilty. Maybe just starting with somebody to just say, I needed to talk to you. It's very hard for me to concentrate nowadays on my studies. I just felt I needed somebody to talk to. Not that I will give up on my studies, but I just wanted you to know, especially significant others. But also for me, before you talk to another person, I have simplified when I need to be emotionally vulnerable, is that I have got a need and I want to make sure my need is met. Then I don't start thinking about the other person and their needs and what this person might think about me, because then I immediately dismiss my needs. The second important part, sometimes when we decide to talk to someone, we also expect this person to do something because of where we are. Sometimes it's okay that we are going to talk to a person who will fail us. It could be a professional, it could be a significant other, that they could still respond in a way that it's not aligned to the intensity, but just take that risk to say, for now, I just want to talk to someone, because just talking to someone also helps you to hear yourself and alleviate the intensity that you are holding. But furthermore, you needed to do that also to just acknowledge yourself. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Dr. Kurisang. So, as you've been seeing on the screen, we are sharing our contact details with you. Please contact either Dr. Kurisang or myself to the email addresses so that we can start having conversations if you are concerned or if you would just want to have a space to share how you are feeling at the moment. We also offer online appointments on MS Teams where needed. On our website, we've got a lot of resources available related to mental health and personal development. So that's at www.unisa.ac.za/counseling. And then on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Unisa Careers, there are also a number of recordings that we've made related to mental health topics. We appreciate you taking the time to connect with us and to watch this presentation. We hope that you do all the best in your studies, and please remember to contact us if you need to have a further discussion. Thank you.